Hi and welcome to this week's lesson. Okay, and today we're going to be talking about lists. But I want to start with some well dones to get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with a well done to Foaz. Okay, this is for his mind reading program, which you were asked, which was one of your assignments from last week. All right, and Foaz just went above and beyond with this, okay, and really put a lot of effort into creating his mind reader program, okay, so really well done, Foaz. That's a great piece of work, okay. I also want to shout out to Emily, okay. I think Emily's found the programming a little bit difficult, all right, but she's done a great mind reading program, and it's really very impressive, okay, so really well done, Emily. Congratulations, that's a great program, really well done. And the final well done goes out to Luke Millard, okay, who's done a really excellent program to convert dollars to baht, okay, and this was assignment 14, and he's really done an excellent job producing that program. So again, really well done, Luke. Okay, well done. All right, so I've already said that in today's lesson, we're going to talk about lists. But before we start, we're just going to have a little bit of a recap about what we've learned so far. Okay, so what I want you to do, have a look at the code that's in the window, all right, and in the slide, sorry, and I want you to tell me what that code will output. Okay, so I want you to pause the video for 60 seconds, work out what it'll output, and then play again. Okay, so get ready to pause when I say go. All right, go. Okay, so hopefully you're being honest and you pause for 60 seconds. So what will be output by the program below? Well, we've got a for loop, okay, we've got a variable called x. It's going to count up to 10, okay, so it's going to start at 0 and count up to 10. We're going to print x, so what we should see on the screen, okay, is the numbers 0 to 9. Okay, now did you get that correct? If you did, well done. All right, I can imagine that you may have made a mistake. You might have thought it started with 1 and you may have thought it went all the way up to 10. All right, so that's an easy mistake to make. Okay, but well done if you got all the numbers from 0 to 9. Okay, I've got one more recap question. All right, this is a slightly different loop. Okay, this time we've got a while loop. Okay, and again, I'm going to ask you to pause the video for 60 seconds, and this time what I'm looking for is, can you spot the problem with this loop? All right, there's an issue with this bit of code. Can you spot the problem? Okay, so pause the video now. Okay, so what did you work out? What is the problem with the code? Okay, well, hopefully you saw that this loop will get stuck in an infinite loop. It will go on forever. Okay, so of course the second question that I'm going to ask you to do, and again I'm going to ask you to pause the video, is how would you prevent this from getting into an infinite loop? So how would you resolve this problem? All right, so again, I want you to pause the video for 60 seconds now. Okay, so hopefully you've had to think about how you would resolve the infinite loop problem, okay, and of course all you need to do is you just add an extra line below print x. You just have to add a line that makes sure that x can can eventually become 10 or greater, okay. So if we don't have that line, that x equals x plus 1 at the bottom there, we are going to get stuck in an empty loop, an infinite loop, which is not what we want, eh? We do not want an infinite loop. Okay, so let's move on. And so as I said, we're going to talk about lists today, and hopefully the name gives you a hint about what we're going to do. So what we need to understand is when we create a variable in our program, and if you're not sure about variables, go back and watch lesson 2 in my Python playlist, okay, where I talk about variables and data types. Okay, so a variable, hopefully we remember, can only store one single element. Okay, so every time that you try and add an element to the variable, or you assign that variable a value, okay, then the original value that was in there gets overwritten. Okay, so I'm just going to write that for us, and let's make sure we just understand. So if we start with, I'm just going to explain what I mean. So if we start with this, okay, so what we've just done is we've assigned the variable a the value 13. All right, so we're using variable a to store a value 13. All right, now if I do this like so, okay, I have just overwritten the value in variable a, and it's no longer 13, it is now 15. Okay, so the 13's been gone, it's been deleted, it's been overwritten, okay, and now that variable a contains the number 15. All right, so a variable can only contain a single element. So that brings up an important question. What happens if we want to store more than one element? All right, so I can think of an example, and we're going to code this later on. But you know, you all do exams in school, which means you get lots and lots of exam results. Okay, so what happens if we wanted to store your exam results? How would we store more than one exam result? That is the question, and that's what we're going to be learning about today. Okay, so basically what we're going to learn about today is lists. Okay, so Python allows you to create a list. Now a list can hold multiple elements. Okay, now they all have to be the same data type. So you can't have a list with strings, like words, and numbers in. Okay, you can only have a list either with words in, okay, or with numbers in. All right, but I'll give you an example now. Okay, so this is a list. Okay, and this is how you create it in Python. So it looks exactly like a variable. Okay, this is our variable name, or this is our list name. So this is the name of our list here. There you go. Okay, and then here is our list. Look, here is our list. Now the important thing to note, what's important here are these square brackets. Okay, and it's the square brackets that denote that this is a list. Okay, so if you miss out those square brackets, the computer will not know it's a list that you are trying to create. Okay, so if the computer sees those square brackets, then it will know that you are trying to create a list. Okay, now, so I have created a list, and in that list are 3 items. Okay, and you can see that I've got apple, banana, and cherry. All right, does that make sense? So really simple to create a list in Python. Okay, now I've got another question for you, so I'm going to again ask you to pause the video. So I want you to pause the video, 30, 60 seconds, whatever you prefer. All right, until you come up with an answer. And what I want you to think about is, what do you think would be output on the screen if I print fruit square bracket 1? What do you think would be output? Okay, so if you want to pause the video now. Okay, what do we get? Okay, I think most of us, I would imagine, okay, unless we've had some experience of programming before, I think most of us would think that it would output apple. Okay, did anyone else think that? Okay, I imagine most of you thought it would output apple. Okay, I'm afraid to tell you, as always in computer science, as a computer scientist, we like to be a little bit awkward. Okay, and actually it doesn't output apple. What do you think it outputs instead? It outputs banana. Okay, and that's because in computer science we don't like to waste anything. So this element here, this apple, okay, is actually, that's the first element in the list, but that's represented using the number 0. Okay, so that's at position 0. This element here is at position 1, and then this element here is at position 2. Okay, so if I wanted to output the values in my list, okay, I'm going to get, I could, let me just, hang on, I need my eraser tool. Oh, I've lost my eraser. Here we go. Let's get my eraser up. Sorry about this. There you go. So if I wanted to output the elements in the list, okay, I would just continue to write my print. So if I wanted to do them in order, I could print fruit 0, and I could print fruit 2 would be the last element. Okay, so that would print all 3 elements in my list. All right, and you can test that. So if you go to Replit, open a new Replit, and you can test if that works and make sure that you agree that that would print all 3 items in the list. Now hopefully some people are going, hang on. Okay, you know, you've had to write that out 3 times. Now you've told us that we can use loops, which means that we don't have to write things over and over again, which you are absolutely correct. Okay, so actually what we can do is, if we can get rid of all of this, and again I'm going to show you this again in a minute, we're going to do some live coding in a minute, so I'll show you how to do this, but actually we can use a loop. Okay, so we can use so the question is, what kind of loop? All right, which is interesting to think about. Okay, so if you think about it, the difference between a for loop and a while loop, again, watch the videos if you can't remember, but the difference between a for loop and a while loop is we use a for loop when we know how many times we want to loop. So if we look at this list, do we know how many times we want to loop? Of course we do, okay, because we know how many elements are in the list. So we can look what we can do. We can say for x in range. Okay, and then this is the clever bit. Okay, Python contains a function that we can use, and it's called len. Okay, and it returns the length of something. So it tells you how many items are in that list. So in our list called fruit, all right, there are 3 items. So it will return the number 3. Okay, so we put len, L-E-N, like that, and then in the brackets we just write fruit. Okay, so that tells the computer that we want you to work out the length of the list called fruit. Okay, and then we have to make one other change. Okay, so we put our colon here. We don't want to forget our colon. All right, important not to forget our colon, otherwise we'll have a problem. All right, and then we just change this. Otherwise, at the moment, this will just print banana 3 times. Okay, so hopefully you've realized that we've got to change that from 1. That needs to become x. Okay, so that's how to use a loop, a for loop, to iterate through a list. Okay, now I'm going to show you, let me just check what the next slide is. Yeah, I'm now going to show you live how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to show you that again, and I'm going to do some live coding. So you just have to bear with me while I move to my coding window. Okay, so here's my coding window, and as you can see in my coding window, I have already created my array. Okay, so I just maybe need to refresh it. It's gone a bit slow on me. Okay, sorry, not array, my list. This is my list. Okay, so I've got my list of exam scores. So we talked about this earlier, that you get lots and lots of different exam results. So you can imagine these are my math results. Okay, so, from August. Okay, so in my first exam I got 56. And then I got 83, then I got 74, and then I got 95. Okay, so what I want to do first of all is I'm just going to write a loop just to output each one of those scores. Okay, so I'm going to do for, just like I wrote on the slide. Okay, I'm going to have my variable, which is called x, in range. Okay, and then in the brackets I'm just going to use the len function, L-E-N. Alright, and then I'm going to open up a bracket and close the bracket. Now I need to make sure that I count my brackets, otherwise I'm going to have a problem later on. Okay, so look what happens. So look how many brackets I've got. Okay, I've got a bracket here, I've got a bracket here, I've got a bracket here, and I've got a bracket here. I'm then going to put a colon on the end. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print, and then in my brackets I'm going to put exam scores. And then in a square bracket this time, I'm going to print exam scores x. Okay, and what we should see on the screen, oh no, we've got a problem. Okay, and so you may see that problem yourself. Okay, so what have I done? Look, well, the name of my list is actually exam scores, and what have I put in here? I put exam score. So of course the computer doesn't know what exam score is, so I just need to change that to exam scores, and I run the program, and there you go. Okay, now let me just show you what happens if I miss out a bracket. Okay, so there is that issue there where there's lots of brackets there, and so lots of you had this problem before where you missed out a bracket. So what happens if I miss out a bracket? Alright, so again, it doesn't work, and it tries to tell me that the so it actually gives me a hint and says there's a problem on line 3. Okay, so if I look at line 3, I know that the problem is the bracket, because I've got 2 open brackets, which means I should have 2 closed brackets. Alright, so just make sure that you keep an eye on how many brackets you've got. Okay, now I'm going to do one more thing while I've got my live coding window open. Alright, and what I'm going to do is if you remember, we created that little program that just told you whether you passed or failed. Alright, so if you've got over 75%, you've got to pass. If you've got less than 75%, you've got to fail. So I'm just going to add that in. So rather than so it's going to print the exam score, and then it's going to check whether you passed or failed. Okay, so I'm going to say if, and again I'm going to use exam scores. Alright, and then remember, in an if statement, I don't know why I put these brackets in, I apologize, I've got bracket mad. Don't need brackets there. Okay, I really apologize for that. Okay, so don't do that in your own program. Leave the brackets out. Okay, so if exam score. So remember, this is our statement that's going to evaluate to either true or false. All right. So in this situation, if you get 75 or over, you've passed. Okay. So if exam scores is greater than or equal to 75, we put a colon. Okay. We don't want to forget the colon. We make sure that the code is indented, and then we're going to print. Okay, and we're going to be nice and say you passed. Well done. Alright, and then we're going to put an else in. Again, remember from our video about if statements, this is optional. Alright, but in this situation we want to use the else, so we're going to put else, again a colon, and then this time I'm going to say print now. So if that's false, then if exam scores X is not greater than or equal to 75, what does that mean? That means unfortunately they failed. Okay, so you failed. You will have to have another go. You will have to have another go. Alright, there you go. Alright, so let's run that and see what happens. Okay, and there we go. Alright, oh look, I can't spell failed. Look at that, I missed out the A. I failed. Alright, and let's run it again. There we go. You see, so it checks the first one, 56. That, of course, is less than 75, so it comes out and says you failed. You'll have to have another go. Then I get 83, which means I passed. Then I only just failed the third one. Okay, and then 95, well done me, I got 95 on that final one. Okay, so that's how to, so I've shown you there hopefully how to create a list using the square brackets. Okay, and then I've shown you how to iterate through the list using a for loop. Alright, now we're just going to quickly go back to my presentation, okay, because I'm going to tell you what your task is and the task that you're going to complete this week. Okay, so as always, this assignment will be on Replit, okay, but I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay, so assignment 16 is all about golf. Okay, now I don't know if any of you know anything about golf, but in golf, when you have a go at a hole, all right, there is a score that you're expected to achieve. Okay, and that's called the par score. Okay, so if you get lower than the par score, so if the par score is 3, for example, and you do it in two shots rather than 3 shots, that means you're good. All right, and if you do it over the par score, that means you're not so good. Okay, so you've got 2 lists, all right, for assignment 16. You've got one list called par and one list called score. So one of them is the par for the 9-hole golf course, and the other one is the score that you achieved. Okay, so if we have a look at score, all right, that tells you that you got a 4 for hole number 1, which was a par 3, so you were 1 over there. Okay, the second one, hole number 2, you've got a score of 4, and you were on par there. Okay, and if we look at hole number 3, you were on par again, and then look, if we look at hole number 4, you were actually 1 under par there, so you managed to do it 1 under par. Okay, so your job is to create a program, and I've given you the 2 lists, so that they're already created for you. So your job is to create a program that outputs under par if the number in the scores list is less than par, par if the numbers are the same, and over par if the numbers in the scores list is over the par score. Okay, and I'm just going to let me just hang on. Can I just show you? Oh, hang on. I've just moved that, so I need to just put that. All right, you'll have to bear with me. Okay, I'm just going to show you the results and just show you what I want you to do. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly edit something and then I'll be with you. And there we go. Okay, all right. So this screen here, okay, shows you what your program should output. Okay, so this is what you are looking for your program to output. Okay, so it should output over par, 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 under par, over par, 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 under par. Okay, it also shows the extension task. So the extension task is just to calculate the total score and the total par score, and then tell me how much you were under or over it. Okay, so there's an extension task there too. All right, so that's it from me this week. I look forward to seeing you next lesson. Please make sure you check into one of the lessons this week. I do need to make sure that you are attending at least one of the lessons, so please make sure you check into one of the lessons, even if it's just to check in and tell me that everything's fine, and I'll just mark you off on the register. All right, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in one of those sessions. All right, see you later.